This is a little house on ASMR.
I know. What's the deal with ASMR?
We're going to be bringing some crab legs in shortly.
They're coming. Okay. Hey, y'all. It's Tia, and welcome to Tia Talks. And today I'm here with Maria.
Hi,
Yes.
everybody. I'm so happy to be on Tia Talks.
I love your energy, Maria. So when we first met, it was I don't know if you remember, but one thing that stuck with me when we first met, you was like this. You looked at me in my eyes, and you was like, Tia.
Here she goes.
She's like, Tia, these bitches ain't gonna bring you nowhere.
Oh, that sounds like me.
These bitches ain't gonna bring you nowhere, Tia. Come with me, Tia.
No, but tell the story. Wait, it was at the house party, right?
At the house party.
We were at a house party in Harlem, and I saw, a very social girl, and I'm like,
yes,
because it was at my best friend's house, and I'm like, who's this girl? I'm like, she's got this big hair. She's really vibrant. She's talking with everybody. And I'm like, why haven't I met her yet? So I'm like, let me walk down. And instantly we went.
We clicked. We had a click. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
And ever since then, I've been keeping up with you on.
Anytime we get the chance to talk or run into each other, it's a great time. And I was more than honored to be invited here to Tia Talks, because I was just saying before we even started, congratulations.
Thank you.
Obviously, it takes so much as a creative to have the nerve to put yourself out here in the creative atmosphere, because there are so many outlets nowadays, whether it's YouTube, podcasting, Spotify, Apple, blah, blah, blah. You can find people everywhere doing something nowadays. Andy Warhol said it. Everybody will be famous one day. You know what I mean? So it's just like everybody's trying to get themselves on, especially since COVID.
Right.
I feel like everyone's starting a business or a brand or something. And it's like...
So during COVID, what were you up to? Did you start anything new?
Oh, baby, I did a lot during COVID, and it's... Oh, let me move my phone over here, because I had to charge my shit, because I'm a New Yorker, baby, so I rode the train over here. Yes. So, hello. During COVID, I'll say, and it's taboo to say, but it's my experience, is life really flourished for me during COVID. I had a lot of doors and opportunities open for me, and I got to jump through a lot of experiences during that time. So when I think of 2020, I think of COVID, but I also think of how blessed I was that year with everything that came to me. I started a talk show called Dear Maria. It's for sex and relationship advice. I started that with the help of the dating app Jacked, if anyone knows.
Right.
Jacked app. I'm sure the girls who be swiping and checking what's in their area, I got to do that.
So how did you get partnered with Jack?
I am the type of person that is just, I am not afraid to ask. I'm not afraid to put myself out there. I'm not afraid to send an email and say, yo, what's up? Here's this thing that I got going on. Here's this thing that I do. Do you want to collab?
Right.
Do you want to partner? Do you want to this and that? And I shoot my shot, and I love to pull contacts. I love to be like, okay, for example, we're here today. I'm like, I know Tia. Me and Tia are friends. And we now are associates by doing stuff like this, creative work like this. And anyone Tia knows, I'm going to know. And anyone that I know, Tia's going to know. Right. And that's how you do it. And if you don't have that energy, or you don't have that kind of personality, and you don't have to be an extrovert or an introvert to do that. It is simple networking. It is about who's out here, who's doing dope shit, who can I connect with, who can get me to the next level.
Right. And
I've always kind of just known that, and I decided, I'm gonna reach out. So I had some contacts that I had over there at Jacked App, which is Perry Street Software, that's there situation, and we got that off the ground and running. And then, oddly enough, we did that situation, and that I've been doing this snowball effect, right?
The domino effect.
Yeah, exactly. A domino effect. It's like one thing opens this door, then opens that door, then opens that door, and then I keep getting so like, oh my God, I can't believe that I'm where I am today and doing what I'm doing, all based off of this one little project, you know? And if I take us back, and I don't mean to jump in,
no,
but
it's okay.
I might as well, because I'm on a roll, right? I might as well. Like, and which is why I get very compassionate, and I'm very empathetic and sympathetic with you in right now starting this and starting your creative project, because my first creative project was a podcast. And I started podcasting. We did it for 2 years, myself and a co-host. It was called Living Loud. Anyone who didn't know it, whatever, we did Living Loud. And it opened so many doors for us. Like, we were at the Out Magazine gala that they do every year. We're getting invited to HBO premieres of stuff.
Wow.
We got invited to host the red carpet at the GLAAD Awards. We got invited to, like, we got so many opportunities out of something as simple as saying, hey, you and me, we're gonna sit here and we're gonna talk some shit and we're gonna give our opinion on something because we got something to say and we think we're so funny. Because everybody thinks they're a key. So I'm like, oh, we think we're so funny, and you know, it just kind of skyrocketed off. It's like it grew wings of its own that myself and my co-host never could have imagined that it was going to do. And then what started happening, obviously after a year and a half in, it's like, okay, now there's all these other doors. What do we do? Right. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to turn your back on what fed you, because this opened all these doors for us, but we got to go through this door, you know? So sometimes you have to say goodbye or put something to bed. And it was painful. It hurt to put our podcast to bed because we loved doing it. And we were so thankful for it. But there was the time where we had jobs, we have stuff going on, we have other things outside of work, because what people don't understand, y'all at home, is this is 100% out of the heart. When you do a podcast, 90% of the time, you're squeezing that time in to do those episodes. You're paying out of pocket to fucking come and rent the studio and rent what you have to do Tia Talk.
Yes.
You know? So it's just like...
it's an investment.
It's such an investment.
It's a passion project.
And thank you for saying that. Because some people don't think that way, in that, oh, well, you did all this and you threw all this money into it and you did all that and then you let it go. And it's like, no, we invested in ourselves. You know what I mean? It's like we invested in in us and how we believed in ourselves. And we put ourselves on a platform. People got to know us. And next thing you know, we're invited to the next thing and the next thing. And it's such a blessing. And I pray here that is exactly what happens for you, babe.
Thank you.
Like, it is so worth it. It's so worth it. And anything you believe in yourself to do, anyone listening, is fucking do it. Go for it. Take that shot. Yeah.
I appreciate you, like, just sharing that story with me, because I just feel like right now I just feel so alone. Like, I'm doing everything by myself. I'm like, you know, setting up the camera, the mic, scheduling the people, and it's just like, how am I doing it? And I'm making it work. And then, like, you know, there's always going to be, like, people on the outside. They want to have their opinions. And, like, I'm like, but this is what I want to do. Like, I like talking to people. I like sharing people's stories. So, like, everyone has this image of, like, what I should be doing and what I'm doing currently.
Well, I commend you, because I was the first one out of me and my co-host to say, hey, we should do this. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, we should do this. Like, when we sit here on my couch at home, we have some of the best banter. And it could be about political topics. It could be about pop culture. It could be about movies. It could be about fashion. And we just do this thing. And I was genuinely inspired. I don't know if you've ever listened to it, but there's a podcast called What's the Tea with RuPaul and Michelle Visage. And that is my favorite podcast, like, that I used to listen to. Like, I got put onto it and I was just so excited. And I thought to myself, I could do something like that. Like, I love that feeling. I love, like, being on the train and, like,
and listening.
I'm like, oh, I'm listening, and I feel like I'm in the room.
And
I'm laughing, and sometimes people are like, bitch, what is she laughing at?
Is so
and
true.
I'm cracking up because you feel like you're in the room, and it's just so inviting to be, you know, in that world, but it's like a fly on the wall.
Right.
And so that inspired me to say, I want to do something like that. And when I presented that to my friend, who's my best friend, Vic, and he's like, oh, okay, let's try it. And I'm like, I don't know where to begin. I don't know the slightest idea. I'm not a tech person. I'm not an IT person.
Right.
I'm not an audio, visual, none of that shit. So I'm like, how do we do this? And I said, I got to start reaching out. So I was reaching out to any and everybody that I knew, making friends, networking, asking, how do you do this? How do you do it? Where are you at? You're at what studio? Okay, I'm going to reach out to the studio. Well, we got to pay $3,000? Sure, here's $3,000. Here's that. Because it was like, we want to do this.
Right.
And I didn't know at the time, my co-host was like, I've always wanted to do a podcast, but I've never said it out loud.
Oh.
And I'm like, perfect. This is perfect. So let's do it. And we did it. And we never imagined that it could have done the things that it did for us. And it is such a payoff. So always bet on yourself.
Okay.
Always. That's what I would say to anyone looking to do something creative. Bet on your fucking self, because somebody out there is going to like it. Somebody out there is going to buy it.
So if you could take me back to, like, maybe, like, the first few episodes of your podcast, was it, like, an open format where you just, like, you guys were just sitting down and chatting? Or did you guys have, like, a game plan? Like, we're going to go on this topic and...
Well, I come from being an executive. I am one of those people who is just very, here is a run of show, or here is, you know, brew plan, a guideline, a something, a rubric, whatever you want to call it, about here's what we're going to do today. This is what we should discuss today. Let's get some hot topics. Let's get some points. And what we did was we decided to do our format in segments. So we would just open up very free-flowing, talking, catching up about our weekend, right? Then we'd go into some hot topics and say, okay, let's get into some shit. What's going on in the world today?
Right.
Because people like to hear what we thought about certain stuff. And then after that, we typically try to have like a topic of the week, whether it was sex or, you know, something crazy, or race, or all types of things going on. We would just tackle one main subject, which was the Living Loud topic of the week. And sometimes people will write it in. Sometimes there was people who would write in and ask for us to discuss something specific. Where it's like, oh, okay, now we know. Let's do this. Someone wants to hear our opinion on this. We would even have like listener letters where somebody would be like, oh, we want your advice. And from that was where I realized, at least in my head, because if you ask me, that's my tea, but I give good advice. You know, I'm friends with everybody. Everybody's always asking me for advice. And I was like, I give good advice. And I'm a mega Sex and the City fan. Are you a Sex and the City fan?
I'm going to be honest, no.
Bitch. Shame, bitch.
Not like...
Start watching.
But the thing is that I felt like it wasn't in my, like, generation.
How old are you?
I'm 25.
25, got it. I'll be 30 in January.
But, like, I remember, like, my parents would, like, flip through the channels. I would see it pop up. But I never, like, tuned in. But a lot of my friends are, like, super into it. So I be peeping the memes, everything on social media.
Y'all, I'm sorry, whoever's watching. I bring a little wine. I bring a little wine from home because I said, fuck that. I gotta come and drink.
Yes, it's okay.
You know, so I was inspired by Sex and the City.
Okay.
And I've always been inspired by Sex and the City. Sex and the City has always been my dream of like, I want to live that life. I want to live in the Upper East Side. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I did that. I made that happen for myself. I made that dream come true.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God. Like, I love giving advice. I love giving relationship advice. I love doing this and that. And doing the listener letters on Living Loud was something that kind of birthed me wanting to do the whole Dear Maria sex relationship advice column. I don't know if you've ever heard of like Dear Abby. Dear Abby used to be a thing in the newspaper here in New York where people will write in and she would give advice. And I'm like, I want to do the same thing, but focus it on queer people of color. There's nobody out here who's doing advice for Black, Latinx, queer people. And I'm like, maybe I could do that. That could be my own fucking lane, right? So I said, let's see what happens.
It is so good. I've read a few of them.
I know. And I was so excited when Tia like wrote me a shout at me out. She was like, yo, I'm reading like Maria's articles. I'm like,
I was like on the plane going to Colombia for my little vacation, and I'm like,
how
why?
was that?
Colombia was amazing.
Oh my god.
We stayed in like this beach cabin for like 5 days.
Well, bitch, you're like glowing. You literally have like a glow. You have a beach wave like at all times. Like you are blessed by God. I slapped on the same wig that I met Tia in as like, I was like, oh, I met her in this wig. Let me slap this wig back on. I swear to God.
Oh my God.
I'm getting ready at home and I was like, damn, you know what? I met her in my veneno type wig. Let me come see her.
And you were in the green dress.
The green dress. So I said, let me come see her again in this wig just to give her a little nostalgia.
Love it. Thank you.
So yeah, there's that. But what were we saying? I was saying, oh, that birthday in Maria.
The column.
And I started doing the column. And I had some really good friends over at MOBI, which is Mobilizing Our Brothers Initiative, which is a queer-based, Black men-based organization that tried to cultivate like spaces and events and things for Black and Latinx and people of color, queer men who can come and network and talk and do stuff with each other outside of the club and outside of sex. You know, it's like most times when someone makes space for us, it's a party, it's a club, it's a this. And what they were doing was they were making workshops, panels, discussions, things like that for like, let's all get together, the queer, Black, and Latin, and POC, you know, queer people of color who want to discuss business, who want to like, you know, partner and collab and make shit of each other. And I joined and I got into it and I made the most of it. Because every time I did an event with them, every time I met this one, I met that one, I networked here. Because I've been blessed with that. I've been blessed with the gift of gab. I'm a chatty patty.
And now she's a public figure.
Oh, don't do that. Let me get me.
She's a public figure.
No, I like that. But all I ever wanted to do was just continue to learn and build. And I love to learn from different people and see how people did it their way. Like, I love this building. I got down here today. I want to know more about how you got here and how you got in this building. And we'll talk about that on the side, obviously. But like, here we are. And I'm so grateful to have made the change because, as I explained earlier, I come from straight and narrow, corporate world, corporate retail, doing that whole world. And I spent 10 years doing retail. Wow. 5 of those years as an executive. And doing that as many years as I did, it was nice because I have a degree in fashion marketing. I have a bachelor's. And I'm like, oh, I have to use my degree and do what my degree says I can do, and this is what my degree says I should do. And I followed that path, and I'm like, I'm not learning anything. I'm not doing anything new. This isn't fucking exciting. Like, nothing's making this shit lit for me. Like, I don't go to work every day excited. And I would think that to myself, but I wouldn't change it. And it wasn't until I had the balls to do the podcast and realize, yo, I could start a business, a brand, and get it off the ground and get it running and totally soar like this. I didn't ever believe that I could do that. So when I did it with the podcast was when I said, if I could do this, I can do so much more. And that's exactly what I did. Every time I can't explain it other than that. I just feel like I'm consistently leveling up. Wow. Like, I'm just like,
that's a beautiful thing, honestly. And I want to say, like, your story, like, is inspiring to me because, like, I feel like that too. Like what I currently do for work, like how I make my money. I'm not happy.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm stuck like in this like constant, you know, like mediocre line. And then when I come here, I feel like it's like my outlet. I get to be myself and I feel comfortable. So I feel like a lot of people that are stuck in like this, you know, mediocre life and they just want an outlet, I feel like they should definitely pursue it. Because you never know what could happen.
Anything can happen. And one, I think our generation, millennials, into Gen Z, into whatever that is, you know, I think we're rewriting the rules of what we're supposed to do. You know, like I can't remember the statistic, but I saw an article that said that our generation is the generation that says no more working somewhere 10, 20 years. You don't work somewhere for 10, 20 years no more. You work there for a year or two, you learn what you gotta learn, and you move the fuck on. And no one feels away. Even the job don't feel away. Get what I'm saying? The company is no longer even feeling like, oh, you didn't stay here 5, 10 years? Oh my God. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, fuck that. No, we get it. Let's get new talent. Let's do what we do. And so, like, I love that. We're breaking that chain of you're supposed to give some random company 10 years of your life to then not even be able to retire with something decent enough to buy you a new fucking house. Like, fuck that. Like, hell no. And we're rewriting the rules. And I'm so impressed when I look around. I look at peers of mine, and I call them peers because they are my peers, who are younger than me. They may be 5 years younger than me, 10 years younger than me. The YouTube era passed me. It passed me by. I was never a YouTube girl. YouTube was not a thing when I was in high school. Like, YouTube came by senior year maybe, when Lady Gaga Bad Romance was out. And that's the only time I remember, at least in my memory, of I didn't really use YouTube until senior year maybe of high school. So that passed me by. So by the time I got to college and I'm focusing on trying to be a business person and being in marketing and shit like that, I'm not thinking I can be a YouTube influencer. I can show this. I could give advice on this. Never thought I could do that, because my high school experience was when you're done high school, you go to college.
Where'd you go to school?
In Reading, Pennsylvania.
Oh, a small town?
Yeah, very, very small town. So I'm born here, born in Brooklyn, like legit born here.
What part of Brooklyn?
Brooklyn Hospital. My family lived in Bushwick, Southside Williamsburg. That's that. I still have the majority of my family is in Williamsburg, Bushwick, Ridgewood. That's where all my shit is. But my mom said, we gonna get out the hood. So my mom made sure, you know, she got us out, and we moved on, and we went to Pennsylvania. My mom had a relative that lived in Pennsylvania. They said it's amazing over here. It's quiet, no gun violence, no craziness, because people were dying every day in Brooklyn at the time. Brooklyn is not the Brooklyn that it used to be. So it was the time when it was unsafe. And to raise kids there, you had to make a decision on, do I want to raise my fucking kids in this neighborhood? And my mom got us out. And I grew up most of my schooling life in Pennsylvania. And that was that. I don't change that experience for the world. Reading, Pennsylvania is its own
Is it a diverse area, or is it mostly
when I got there as a kid, it wasn't as diverse. It was a lot of Polish and Italian and a lot of white people. People thought we were Mexican because they didn't know what Puerto Ricans were. So they just saw Hispanic. They used to call us Mexican when we first moved
did you have a culture shock? Like, was it hard for you to adjust?
It was, as a kid, I think it was just this very clear line drawn that it was like, oh, we are very different from these people, and we are the smaller group. Get what I'm saying? Because on my block, the entire block is white Polish people and we're the one group that's not. Now, we were not the only group in the entire city. We weren't the only Latin people in the city.
Right.
However, for a few blocks radius, until years later, then it started integrating. Now, in Reading, Pennsylvania, it's a clusterfuck. It's a melting pot. People move from Camden, from Philly, from Allentown, from New York. People come from everywhere there. So then you get to meet all different types of people. Now, current day, present day, it is very diverse. It is very different. It is very a thing. However, it is still very a small town mentality. And I had to get out of there clearly because I had too much fucking personality to be up in motherfucking Reading, PA. But also, you know, I never felt at peace or at home there. I knew I was different. I was different from everybody else. Oftentimes I was the only queer person or the only queer person who was out. I didn't have I would want to say privilege, and I only say privilege because you get the privilege of going unnoticed by being someone who is not flamboyant. I never had that privilege.
Okay.
I was always flamboyant in my nature. So as a little boy, I'm singing on my karaoke machine and I'm performing in the house and I'm doing stuff, and I'm so grateful that I had parents who just let me be me and let me just do my thing and just I'm performing Toni Braxton in the living room, and I'm like, yeah, Toni was my girl. Growing up, Toni was my girl. But you know, it's just it's such a blessing that I had that, but I got it hard. I did. I had it hard. I was typically the only person, you know, and even if I did know other queer people, they weren't as expressive as me, or they weren't embracing it as much as me. It was a little more hidden. They were a little more DL, or like they would say they were bi, or things like that. And then as I got older, I got to meet other queer people who were more out there and this and that. But then even then, I was taking it to a level that people weren't taking it. Okay. Get what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I wanted to wear gold sneakers, you know, and I wanted to color my hair red and this and that. And I was like, there wasn't many people doing the things that I was doing in the town that I was in. And sometimes people ask me, well, where'd you get it from? Where was your references?
Right.
I swear to you, Tia, like, I didn't have any references. Like, this shit was coming off the dome.
It was
like,
just inside
I would wake up one day and be like, I want to have green hair. And I would go to Hot Topic, buy a jar of Manic Panic in green and dye my fucking hair green for no reason. You know? And it was just like, when I would do that, I would go to school and I would go to high school and people would be like, oh, green hair? What? Like, it was like to the point, like, I remember, oh my God, there's a specific memory. It was like in 11th grade. I don't know if in your school it was like that, but like in 11th grade, we would do a thing where we would have a picnic, right? And it was the day that the 11th graders didn't have to go to school because we were going to this picnic that was just for us because we passed the state exams, right? So I said, oh, perfect, because they told us you don't have to worry about dress code that day. So I said, I'm going to wear short shorts. Cut off shorts. I had my own cut off shorts that I had cut and made myself. And then I said, perfect, here's my opportunity to wear my shorts. And I remember going to this 11th grade junior picnic and causing the biggest fucking like scene and stir that my school had like ever seen, because I showed up in the shortest shorts. Now, mind you, my shorts were no shorter than those of like girls who were coming. But because I wasn't one of the girls, it was like, oh, and the teachers were like, oh, and everybody was just like, and I was just like, oh, I don't give a fuck. You know, so that's just kind of always been me. And I'm so grateful to have had that experience, because I look at New York as not being real life. I look at New York as being this alien world, Because when you look at the majority of our planet, or even just our country, this is the minority. This is not real life. Most states and towns are like middle America. You don't have skyscrapers. You don't have subways. It's not metropolitan. It's not busy. There's not millions of people living in your one little town. Right. There's 500 people in your town. That's the majority of places. So I got to experience that life and see it and appreciate it for what it was. But I knew the entire time I was there, I want to be nowhere but New York City.
So New York and Maria, we love it. So Maria, when you came in today, you said that everyone calls you their mother. Why does that happen?
Well, she did it today when I got in. She was like, "Oh, my mother." I'll say again, yeah, I'm honored to wear that crown. I will wear that crown. I wear it like a badge of honor. You know, there's a lot of kids running around New York who say, "Oh, Maria, that's my mother. Like, that's mother." And they mean it in the old school way of being queer. And like that whole era of like Paris is Burning and that whole era of when you had an older figure or a figure that was more of a guiding light or a guiding force for you, you considered them like a parental figure. You know what I mean? Because you as a queer person, you're out on the streets, you don't know the world, you don't know the life, you're being introduced to this new queer world because you know especially, it's a very different world. Being in the queer, and this girl is very much in the queer world because she be at all the shits. I be seeing her. Yes. But I learned quickly that everybody did not grow up like me. Everybody did not have the same what do you call that? I want to say courage, but I don't want to say courage because I don't want to say that people didn't have the courage. I just had this fuck allness in me that was just like, I'm gonna do me and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna learn this. And you know, since a kid, like I kid you not, since 16, 17, I was going to clubs. Wow. You know, I was going out. I would go with my older cousins and go do shit. And anytime I was here in New York, because I would visit New York a lot, even though I lived in PA, we would go out, we would drink, we would do stuff. And so, yeah, I grew up really fast. And I remember on my 18th birthday, my gift to myself when I turned 18 was an ID. And I got myself an ID that was 21 and up. So by the time I was 18, mentally, and I would say physically, I was 21 up. Because I was out here doing everything that anyone who was 21 and up was doing. I was going to the bars, going to the clubs, doing that. I wouldn't say I'm proud of it. I would wish, because I have cousins that are younger than me and people that are younger than me that I wish would slow the fuck down and just be kids for a bit. And they don't want to hear it because they think you're a hypocrite when they're like, well, you did it. And it's like, yeah, that's why I'm telling you, slow down. Enjoy your fucking youth and learn the things you got to learn as a kid. Because when you grow up so fast and by force, you do it to yourself. You know, sometimes you put yourself in situations or in scenarios that you didn't need to be in at 18. Get what I'm saying? There was things that I learned at 18 that I didn't need to learn at 18. Right. You know what I mean? But I did, and I don't regret it. I have no regrets, but I grew up very fast. So by college, I had this this maternal instinct. That's all I could say. It was just like I was meeting people in college who were from different countries, because I went to school that was a private, it was like international. We had kids that were from India, we had people from all over the place and people from different cities and shit who would come, and they would just be so fragile and this, like, I have a best friend, her name is Sarah, little white girl. She's from Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Her graduating class was a class of 10 people. Maximum. And so I look at her little town, farm town, that kind of area, and she's in Philly, you know, and she's in school in Philly. That's where I went to school. And she's you know, trying to learn her way. And I'm a little slicker than her, and I'm a little faster than her. And I'm realizing, oh, she's having a hard time. And as an Aquarius, I'm just a humanitarian. I don't like to see people struggling or having a hard time. So I would see her and I'm like, I want to take care of her. I want to help her.
Right.
Like, it was just innate in me to do that. So I took her under my wing and I'm like, here, like, come on, we're going to go here. And I remember the first time I made her get on the train with me. I was like, let's go to the movies. And she's like, oh, there's a movie. I'm like, no, we're going to West Philly. She's like, to West Philly? And I'm like, yeah, we're going to get on the train. She's like, the train? I said, yes, we're going to get on the train, girl. And I got her on the train, and she never forgot that day because she was just like, oh, I got on the train, and I went to West Philly. And it's just like, it's the little things that I'm like, it's nothing for me to get on the train. But it was so major for her. And I learned that very early on in college. And so when I finally moved to New York, I met so many young queer boys who were just lost here in the city. You know, I won't say names, but I took in a lot of people. And I don't say that to brag, or I don't say that as a throw in the face to nobody.
Right.
I took these people in because I loved them and I saw them doing something. They were artists. These are photographers, artists, painters who are talented, who want nothing but to be here in New York, but they don't have a place to stay. They don't have a couch they could crash on this week. They're like, can I crash on your couch? I'm like, hell yeah. Come, crash on my couch. It's no problem. And we probably only met a few times. Wow. You know what I mean? My main story of somebody who means near and dear to me, and I genuinely call him my son, because till present day, he treats me like his mother, and we have that relationship. And it pisses me off because he's so talented, he's so creative, that sometimes I reach out to him and I'm like, yo, I need your help with this, with my website. I need help with this because I don't know how to do it, because I'm not tech savvy at all. I can hardly use my phone, really. So he's like, oh, here. And I'm like, here's this money. And he's like, no, absolutely not. And I'm like, no, take this money because you did me a service. I know what anyone else would have charged me. Take this. He fights me about doing this. And we've known each other 8 years now, probably. And he fights me all the time because he's like, I would never charge you for anything. But these are boys that were younger than me, who I took in, who were queer from either down south, South Carolina, Pittsburgh, different places that didn't have this culture, you know, and I saw something in them. And I'm just like, damn, like I would see them dealing with shit that's like, if I don't find a place to stay tonight, I'm going to have to go back to South Carolina. Or I'm going to have to go back to Pittsburgh. Or I'm going to have to go back to Philly or wherever the hell it is. And I'm like, well, then come stay with me.
So you saved a lot of these creatives.
Yeah, there's a lot of creators in New York. and I am so grateful to have done that, because I'm grateful to have met them. And I know they'll tell the story that they are forever grateful to have met me because I saved them. But it was nothing for me to say, come and stay. And like, the reason they say mother, and I take it to the next level, because it wasn't just about staying on my couch. I would make sure I have frozen pizzas in the fridge so that they have something to eat. I made sure I had ramen noodles. And I'm not saying they were getting 4-course fucking meals at my house. But I remember going to the grocery store. My mindset was this. I'm going to the grocery store. I need food for me, right? I got to get stuff for me. But I also have such and such staying with me on Wednesday. I have such and such staying with me through the weekend. And I'm just not, let me get Hot Pockets. Let me get this. Let me get that. Because that's not for me. That's for them. Right? And that's so that they have something to eat when they're in the house. And so just that mindset puts you in that maternal mindset of, I got to take care of these boys. I got to take care of these kids. And it's an emotional thing for me because I have always wanted a kid. I have always wanted a son. 2018, I started to go through the adoption process to try and start and everything. And I was humbled very smartly and gratefully humbled that I was not ready. I went through all of the assessments, and I took the test, and I paid the money to do the test and to have someone come and assess my place. And they humbled me when they were like, you are not ready for a fucking adopted kid. Because I wanted to adopt a kid because that's just me. I have this innate thing in me. So I think because I don't have a child of my own, and it is not easy as a queer person to just pop up and get a child of your own, I have put that maternal energy into all of my babies.
Right.
And I have a lot. I would say I have about maybe 8 people who are like my daughters, my sons, my this and that. But like legit, like people that I would be like, oh, that's my daughter.
Right.
That's my son. But that energy then, I guess, and I don't even realize it, that energy then exudes, I assume,
yes,
off of me when I meet people, because people are like, that's mother. That's mother. That's my mother. She took care of me. She made sure I was good. This person was throwing up. Blah, blah, blah. Like, you have a friend who we both mutually know. Danny. Actually, he gave me this shirt. This shirt.
That's Danny's shirt.
Yeah, he gave me this shirt. It's Danny's shirt. So it's funny. He just mailed this to me literally over the week or something. I just got it over the weekend or something. He mailed it to me. But like, even one night, we're out, we're twirling, we're having a good time, and he kind of got tore up, and I'm like, nope, we're going to my house, I'm putting him down, I'm putting blankets on him, I'm getting him water, I'm like, he's gonna be good, because that's
just you.
It's my innate nature.
Right.
It's just me. So, when you're like, where did this come from? I think I kind of always had it in me,
right,
that I just always wanted to be that, like, I'm a mom, I'm a mom. And I have a wonderful example because my mom is so that person. Both of my parents are. My dad is very caring, very goes to the end and beyond for anyone that he meets. And my mom is the same way. They're just, I learned it. It was passed down to me.
Right. So a lot of what you shared kind of was depicted on the show that you were in, Pose.
Yes.
So tell me about that experience of being on like a TV set, and how did it go for you?
One, that was something that I can't describe. Nothing less as though changed my life.
Right.
It completely changed my life. I had never done TV. I had never done film, never done anything like that. Never thought in a million years that I would even do something like that. And I had a good friend of mine who, you know, I ran into, you know, in the club circuit, blah, 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 blah. And I say that today to, like, say something. There's a very negative connotation of, like, the club kids and the ravers and the people who go out. But y'all don't understand. When we're out, yeah, we're clubbing, we're partying, we're having a good time, but we're networking. We're closing fucking business deals. We're doing shit. We're building shit.
That's so
yeah,
true.
we may be drinking. Yeah, we may be having a good time. But I kid you not, I have opened more doors for myself and closed more deals for myself at the club than I ever did working fucking corporate retail, doing whatever. And maybe the money's a little different because the security's a little different. But let me tell you, I have no fucking problems paying my bills. Like, period. And so when I saw my friend and we were talking and she had done Pose and I was congratulating her on doing that, and she was like, everyone was asking for you. And I'm like, what do you mean? She was like, there was a scene, they were looking for a very cha-cha girl, and everybody was asking, where the fuck is Maria? Where the fuck is Maria? We need a cha-cha girl, where the fuck is Maria? And she was like, you weren't there. And I'm like, how do you do it? And she's like, this is how you do it, this is how you do it. And so she was like, so I told her, I said, listen, when the next time comes around, that they looking for people or they auditioning or something, tell me. That's me drunk, okay? Because the day that she hit me to tell me that they were looking for people, I said, oh no. Oh no, I was like, oh no, I can't do it. I can't do it, I can't do it. I'm not ready. And she's like, come to the audition, go to the audition. Here's the address, here's how you do it, da da da. And I'm like,
so what'd you have to do at the audition?
So I said, so I'm like, all right, I'm like, cool. I got dressed up, I got dolled up, whatever. 20 pounds ago. But I'm like, let me go. I'm like, okay, let me go down to this audition. I show up. It's in Midtown somewhere. I can't remember, around 34th Street. We're going, and I'm like, mind you, I'm not registered. I'm not registered for the audition. I'm just showing up.
Oh.
So you have to be invited to get up to the audition. I wasn't invited. So she's like, just show up. Trust me, if you show up looking glam how you do, you're gonna get up. So I'm like, all right, cool. I get all glammed up. I go down. They deny me at the door. They're like, you don't have the reservation. You don't have the da-da-da. You're not getting home. I'm there in a fur and in a gown and everything. I'm having a whole moment, and I'm so embarrassed.
They denied you at the door.
It's me and a bunch of girls. Like, a bunch of the girls.
Right.
And a bunch of the T girls was there to vogue down, to go do what they was doing. And it was like, oh, shit. And so we're all just standing there looking silly. And this one security guard, he comes up to me. He's like, you. And I'm like not paying attention. I'm like, what's up? He's like, you come here. I'm like, what's up? He's like, do you go by a stage name or something? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I go by Maria. Like, da-da. It's different than what it says on my ID. And he's like, that's why you're not on the list. Let me put you in. So he does this thing, and he's like, come upstairs. But I knew, because he was looking at me like I got you. But he's looking at me like, because, bitch, you look good. So I'm like, all right. I'm like, cool. Wow. So I get upstairs. I'm nervous because, bitch, like, see, I'm telling you, I walk in this room and I look around, and immediately I stank. I stank like I'm not worthy. I'm looking around. There's the RuPaul girls are there. There's girls there from RuPaul that are there. There's girls that are legendary in ballroom who are there, all for the same audition. And I'm like, I'm not getting this. I'm like, there's no way I'm getting in. I'm like, these are ballroom legends. These are girls who are on TV already. I'm like, I'm not getting in. So they start taking people in groups to go and to do the audition, right? So now let me tell you what happens. They take
spicy.
they take you in a little group, right? You go into this little room. There's a panel of judges that are like just there looking at you, watching you. And you come in and you don't know what you're supposed to do. You're just like, hi, my name is da-da-da-da, whatever. They're like, okay, such and such, such and such. They read your name. They're like, we're going to hit the music. We want you to vogue. And they put the music, and in goes this boy. He's voguing. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, immediately I said, I am not in a look or a dress to be voguing. I said, oh my God, oh my God. I'm like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
When it comes up to you.
So then they call the other name, right? And they're like, oh, Christopher, da-da-da-da. So I go walking up to the runway, and this other boy goes walking up to the runway, and they're like, no, we said Christopher. And I'm like, well, Christopher's my name on my ID.
Right.
I'm like, so they're calling me, and they're like, no, we want such and such. I said, oh, I'm like, sorry. I'm thinking they're going by my ID. They didn't say Maria. So I'm like, oh, I'm thinking maybe. So we bust out laughing. They're having a riot now at the judges' table, like thinking, oh my God, this girl's a key. So then finally, lastly, I come out. And they're like, listen, Ma, we want you to do runway. They're like, walk runway, give us your best runway. And then they were like, give us your best face. Give us your best face. So I'm walking the ball like I'm walking to do whatever. And I'm giving them a whole, moment. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And ironically, someone who was on the panel was someone that I knew.
Of course.
He was on my show. He was on my podcast on Living Loud. He was a guest. And so that made it feel a little more comfortable. And that happened only because I'm so social and I know everybody. So I'm like, all right, cool. That happened. A few days later, I was told, I was in. And then a few days later after that, they were calling me back to come and do the first episode. So I came to do the first episode of season 3. I played a dominatrix who worked at the Hellfire Club with Electra Abundance. And I was on the screen for all of 2 seconds, right? But that day took 12 hours of filming, 9 hours of me running from the police in high heel boots.
Wow.
And you don't understand the work and effort that goes into doing background work and doing smaller role work, because you don't know. They give you a whole story. Like, These people were on set giving me a story. They're like, you're a dominatrix. They're like, but you're the hostess. So you're in the hallway and you're outside of Electra's room and the cops come and they're busting it. And when the cops are coming, you gotta run because you don't want to get caught. They're like, but you're not scared. You're not scared of the cops.
They're setting the scene.
Yeah, they're like, you're not scared of the cops. They're like, you just want to get out because you don't want to get locked up again because you're used to getting locked up. And I'm like, so they're telling me all this and now I'm like, okay, now I know who this character is.
Getting into character.
Because I'm running and Janet Mock herself comes out from the back. She grabs me by my face and she's like, you look so beautiful. She's like, oh my God. She's like, I love what you're doing. The run is so funny. She's like, it's so funny. She's like, but stop looking so scared. She's like, because you're running like you're scared of the police. We just want you running like you want to get the fuck out. She's like, make that little difference. And I made that little difference. She gave me that note and she came back out and she was like, you got it. That's how you do it. So yeah, did that. Then I did the finale episode as well, where we went to a ball. There was the scene where MJ Rodriguez and Billy Porter do the dance in the rain to the Diana Ross Ain't No Mountain High Enough song.
Right.
That was amazing, to be dancing in the rain and everything. It was so much fun. We had a blast. And from doing that, I caught the bug, which people in the film industry and actors and theater kids, they call the bug the acting bug, because I said, I like this. And I'm like, I like being in this room. I like being in these rooms. I like even just seeing production. Even if they're not using me, I just like sitting and watching and seeing this. I love being in the room. And I got so inspired by doing that I didn't stop. And so since then, since doing Pose, I've done any and everything possible that I can do on film. I just recently, and I don't, well, it is what it is.
Can you share?
I did the Sex and the City reboot, which is a dream of mine because, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a Sex and the City major fan.
Mega fan.
Not only did I film the reboot, I'm in kind of a featured situation where you'll see the episode, but when y'all see the episode, I'm in a major moment. So there's a major moment, and granted, it's still a small background role, but it was a specific thing that they wanted me to do. That it was like, hey, we want you doing this one thing, and I'm like, oh shit, and they're like, yeah, and you gotta interact with the girls.
So you're getting like all this like IBM credit for doing the background roles and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my
And so here's how it works: when you do all this background stuff as a non-union person, you rack up these hours. And so all of these hours then accumulate. And after an X amount of hours, you can qualify for SAG, to be SAG-AFTRA, you know, and be a union actor. However, to skip that, you can just apply for SAG on your own, which is very expensive. Most people don't have the couple grand saved up to do that. And also, a production can sponsor your SAG card. And I am very thankful that I am working on a production that is coming up that is going to sponsor my SAG card. So I'm working on that to get that in the way, because that is going to open even more doors in that realm. Now, if people would have asked me 5 years ago, do you want to be an actor? I would have said no.
But now,
if people would have asked me 2 years ago, do you want to be an actor? I would have said no. If people asked me last year, do you think you're going to pursue a career on TV and this and that and film? I would have said no. And here I am pursuing a career on TV and film, so much so that a few months ago, I did my very first, what they call cold read, which is where a production sends you some sides of a script, which are just your lines to a potential role. And I read, and I did a self-taping of my own audition, and I sent it, and I got it. So I'm like, oh shit. It's one of those things where the universe sometimes guides you in a way, and you don't even like realize what's going on. And you just gotta follow with whatever direction the universe is pointing you in, right? So I'm like, I keep getting these opportunities to act and to do things. Everyone always tells me I'm such a personality. I'm such a ball of energy. I'm such a this. I'm like, let me put it to use. And apparently, I'm good at it. You know what I mean? So it's just like, okay, I'm doing good. People are telling me I'm good. And I'm like, I'm never going to make it through this audition. I'm like, I did an audition in person. That was different. But doing a self-taping at home, reading lines, I said, I'm never going to get that. And bitch,
and got it.
And I'm telling you, no training. I've never been to an acting class. I've never been to nothing like that. But I'm just like, maybe this is something I'm fucking good at.
This is your thing.
So,
oh my gosh, Maria.
Right. So it's like, why not fucking try it? It's like, why not fucking try it? So I'm just like, screw it. I'm just going with the flow. And that's the scariest part. Because the scariest part is like, you're in this place, right? You don't know what you're doing and you're alone. Because no one else that I know immediately, at least, is doing what I'm doing. You know, at least when I was doing corporate retail, I had 4 other friends I could talk to on the regular doing corporate retail. At least when I was podcasting, I had a few other friends that I could bounce off the walls with who are podcasting.
Right.
But when I'm in this realm, I'm like, I gotta make friends. I'm like, I need to start making actor friends, and I need to start making this because the few people that I do know socially, and that's the difference. Do I have some acquaintances that maybe do it? Right. Sure. Do I have people in my inner circle or that I trust that I could be like, hey, give me some advice on this, or what would you do? Not really. So I'm kind of out here on my own.
You're trying to figure it out.
Navigating. But you know what? That's not foreign to me. I'm used to always kind of being out here on my own, navigating.
So
it is what it is.
Are you gonna take any like acting classes? Are you doing that now?
So this film that I'm working on, that's going to be, it's in pre-production right now. We're filming in January. Okay. So we start filming in January. It's already written in the stars. Like, they want me partnering with an acting coach, partnering here and that. They want to polish me and fine tune me. One of the pieces of advice that I kind of got from someone who I know was like, and he's an actor, and he's like, there's actors every day who are in the world. There are people who go, they study to act, they study to act, they study to act. They have all the techniques, they get everything, blah, 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 blah. There's that. And then there's people who have the it factor. And there's people who have personality. There's people who have charm. There's people who have charisma. And that, the charm, the charisma, that it factor cannot be taught. You can't teach no one that. You can teach someone how to read a line better. You can teach someone how to invoke a certain emotion. You can teach someone how to move and make movement with their body. But to have a natural charm, charisma, something like that, you can't teach someone. So they're like, when you meet someone who has that, they're like, you gotta stick to them. And apparently that's what I got.
That's you, Maria! Oh my gosh, we're here with a superstar.
No, and listen, and I'm very humble, and I say this from a place of, this is my experience. And I pray that there is a baby gay out there watching or listening, or any of the people who looked up to me in high school, or anyone who's now who's just like, yo, this bitch is doing what the fuck she's gotta do. And it's just like, I'm so thankful to be where I am. And aside from all of that, because it's not like I'm saying I'm about to accept an award for an Oscar.
Hey,
but what I'm
come
saying,
to the manifestation pond.
Right,
you can do it there.
What I'm saying is, I am so happy. And that for me beats anything. I wake up every day and I'm like, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I like this. This is fun for me. I like this. Of course it's stressful. Of course it's confusing. Of course there's days that it's all over the place and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But I'm excited every day. I'm excited every day to do it. I'm excited to hear more every day. And for me, that costs more than the 6 figures I was fucking making doing corporate retail. Fuck that. That can go to waste, because if I die tomorrow, they will replace me the next day. I would rather do this. I leave a mark. I'm leaving stuff in the sand. Like, you don't know that reaction. Like, sitting down, watching my favorite show, Pose, and seeing myself on it. I'm like, oh shit, this is almost unreal.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
I'm here. And when I get to watch, Sex and the City coming in a few months, I might faint because I'm like, that is my lifelong favorite fucking show.
Wow.
And I'm in it. And manifesting is real. I love that you said that.
Yes, the
That's
manifestation pond. So I want you to come with me on this journey.
Yeah.
So I want you to close your eyes, right? And you're in a garden, right? And you take a seat, you're just chilling, just you by yourself. And you just think about, where do you want to be in the next 5 years? And what will life be like then? And then you open your eyes and you just tell me like what you see and what's coming up next for Maria.
Yeah. 5 years from now, I would like to still be doing this, learning the acting and film world and perfecting this craft and getting better at it. But I see myself from a place of progression with more stability. I think I'm gonna have a better hold on it, you know, and a better sense of how to make money from it, and more job security from it. Because when you're non-union, doing small role background work or even featured work, non-union, it's different. It's hard to get the things that you need, you know. So I would hope that 5 years from now, I'm in a place of stability within this same realm. I want to keep learning. And even if it's not acting, I just love production. I want to continue working in production. Even if it's behind the fucking scenes. I just want to be on set.
Yes.
I love it. It's an energy. It's so much fun and it's intoxicating. And I'm finally learning that story about like why people go to Hollywood, why people dedicate their life to creating film and TV, because it's so exhilarating.
You know what I see when I look at you as well? I feel like there needs to be a movie about you.
Oh, I have a story. Yeah, no, I have a very interesting story. Life wasn't the easiest, but it wasn't the hardest. I didn't struggle or have a problem, but I got myself into a lot. And I have a story.
Yeah,
it would be interesting. I have a friend.
I like that idea.
I have a friend that told me, T, she was like, I'm going to write your story one day. And she told me that she meant it from the heart because she wants to be a writer. And she was like, you are probably one of the most interesting people I know in my entire life. And she's like, if I had the honor and the privilege to get things together, I would write your story. And I was like, you let me know. I'm an open book.
Because you have a very interesting story, honestly. Everything you've shared with me.
And you're wonderful. You're so wonderful. I need to tell her now while she's here, like she has this intoxicating energy where you know, and maybe it's just me, maybe we're a good duo together, but I just came here and spilled my fucking brains out for what, an hour? What time is it? Because baby, we got into it. But it's great. You just have that energy. You make people feel comfortable. I feel comfortable around you. Since the first day we met. Yeah. That first day we met, we sat all night and talked. We're like, oh my God. And since then, it's been all love. Anytime I see her or we talk. And I'm wishing you the best of luck on any of your future endeavors. And please keep spreading that energy because it's going to take you somewhere. Believe you me. And the times are going to get hard. It's going to get boring. There's going to be times where you feel stale. When you're like, who do I get? Who's my guest? What do I come up with? What topic do we talk about? Fight through it. Keep going through it because it's going to open doors. Just having that little bit of nerve takes you a long way. It really does. Because there's so many people sitting at home right now watching saying, damn, I could have a podcast too. Why don't you? Why don't you? Yeah.
Wow, that was a beautiful thing. You are so passionate and you're such a great speaker. I think you should also go into public speaking, like motivational speaking.
I do some moderating stuff on the side.
It's just so beautiful, Maria. I don't know. I just want to tell you all these things that I love.
Well, we'll talk after this.
Yes.
We'll go for a drink. Because my wine is done.
Yes. Well, thank you again for coming on to Tia
Thank
Talks.
you for having me, Tia.
Yes.
This has been amazing. And everybody, Tia Talks. We are here. Tune in to even more. The dolls are going to be coming on. There's more to come.
Yay. Tia is out. Love you.
Shawty real, realest pockets in New York. In the building, Tia about to set it off. Hey yo, what's good, bro? I walk in like, hey, good luck. Best believe I keep an ear to the streets and an eye for the freaks. Ain't no telling what been happening in the sheets.